Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of the DC Capstone Report. It's great for us to be back with you again on another podcast on Alabama football. Well, today on the podcast, in the first segment, we're going to review the last game against the LSU Tigers. In our second segment, we're going to take a look at our players of the game in the LSU game. In our third and final segment, we're going to look at the upcoming game against the New Mexico State Aggies. You're listening to the DC Capstone Report. The DC Capstone Report is featured each Tuesday morning on the Martin Houston Show at Tide 100.9. You can listen live at Tide100.9.com. Well, it's great to be back on another podcast for the DC Capstone Report. Lance and I are greatly aware of all the fans out there and that you've been commenting and liking our page, and we really appreciate that. We thank you so much that you are continuing to listen and view our podcast. And just want to thank Lance Shores for all the great job he does in producing everything. And be sure and check out our website at dccapstonereport.com. Also check out our Facebook page and like our Facebook page at DC Capstone Report Facebook page. And don't forget to check out Lance's other sites, RollTideBama.com and FreelancePictures.com for some great Alabama content. Well, today in the first segment, we're going to take a look and review the game against the LSU Tigers. Well, folks, last week on the podcast, I said it could go one of two ways. We'd either have a team that would come in and have nothing to lose and play that way in LSU and it'd be a close game, or we'd have a team that came in and just laid down and we ran all over them. And I predicted that that's what was going to happen, but boy, was I wrong. I believe the LSU Tigers came in with a chip on their shoulder, and they wanted to send out Coach Orgeron as a victor, and they wanted to beat Alabama as their bowl game. So they came in with nothing to lose. And folks, let me tell you something. It is hard to prepare for, and it is hard to play a team that has nothing to lose. But I'll just be honest with you. All the Alabama fans that's been jumping off the ledge and talking about how bad we played, I think have ignored a huge part of this game, and that is the defensive production in this game. I really believe that the defense played a good game. They held LSU to 14 points, held them to just over 100 yards rushing, and held them under 300 yards passing. So overall, this defensive team played a good game. So let's start with the positives. I think on defense, they did exactly what I said in the podcast last week that they had to do. Number one, they affected the quarterback. Will Anderson Jr., Dallas Turner, Fendarian Mathis was putting pressure on the quarterback all day long, and then blitzing with Christian Harris and Henry To'oTo'o. Just had to put a lot of pressure on that quarterback. And until late in the game, we held their running game in check. It wasn't until late in the game where their running back broke a long run that they gained the majority of their yardage. So the second thing I said they'd do, we need to limit our mistakes on defense. And we did that. I don't think we had many penalties that hurt us on defense. The third thing I said we needed to do last week was to cause turnovers. And we did just that, getting interceptions and getting fumbles. And I think that was a big plus when you see this Alabama team play this LSU Tiger team. To me, the way the defense played in this game, which should make every Alabama fan happy. It should make us confident going forward. Anytime you can hold the athletic team that LSU was to 14 points or less is, in my opinion, a big victory. So why is everybody down on Alabama? Well, the fans have become, I believe, to expect that we're going to blow out every team that we face. And I don't think that's just the case. I think we faced a good LSU team that was very talented. They didn't have anything to lose, and they played that way. And I think that's the reason that some of our mistakes on offense were so magnified in this game. Well, let's get to the offensive side and review that. How bad did we play? Well, I don't think we played on offense the capability of the Alabama teams play. And when the standard is the past Alabama teams and the standard is perfection, it's hard to play up to that each and every game. And we had something that happened early in this game that a lot of folks have just overlooked. And that is our starting center, Darren Delacourt, went out of the game. And that means that we had three people playing out of position then. So Delacourt was gone. Then we moved Chris Owens to center, who had not got the majority of the center reps all week. And then we had to bring in someone else at at the right tackle position that had not played all week and not gotten any of the first team reps. So then you got everybody trying to compensate for that, and I think it set us up for the rest of the game, a definite troubling experience on the offensive line. And that's all you can say. The offensive line did not play up to par after Delacorte went out. Our running game was non-existent, and our passing game did not give a good protection. When Bryce Young had protection, he was able to hit open receivers, and we were able to score on some long passes and create some critical third down conversions. And most of all, the offensive line didn't play up to the standard of Alabama football. So I think that's where everybody is talking about this deep offensive play calling of the offensive coordinator, talking about how bad it was. Well, it wouldn't have been bad if our offensive line was blocking and executing the play they needed to play. And I think they were behind the 8 ball from the very beginning when they had to make those changes on the offensive line. I think you'll see going forward, Chris Owens, if he has to play this week, if a full week of practice at first team reps, he'll do just fine at center. But he's your utility man. He can play guard, he can play right tackle, left tackle, and he can play center. And so this week, if he gets the reps in practice as the first team center, and Delacorte, if he can't play this week and needing to rest another week, I think that we'll be just fine on offensive line in the next game. But overall, I think when you come out of victory against LSU, it's always a good thing. So all you Alabama fans out there that are quick to judge on how bad the offensive line play, let's give them a break in this game because of what happened early on. And I think the injury to Delacorte really affected us more than the fans want to admit. Well, here in the second segment, let's take a look at our players of the game in this LSU game. A victory over LSU, 20-14. It was a hard-fought victory, and in this game on offense, I thought the 2 offensive stars of the game had to be wide receivers in this particular game. Jameson and Williams did a great job of getting open and extending the plays on the long. His speed on that long pass was just tremendous. He blew right past the player for LSU, who's a 5-star talent, just a young player, but had speed itself. But he blew right past him and got open for that long touchdown pass. And then John Metchie had some really, really good plays on catching the ball. He caught the ball in space a couple of times. He caught the ball in traffic a couple of times. He had some good third down conversions. And I think he did a really good job of getting open and running his route. A lot of good job of route running in this game. So my players of the game on offense are Jameson Williams and John Metchie. Now on defense. Well, on defense, in my opinion, could have given it to a lot of guys. I think Jordan Battle had a great game. I think Henry To'oTo'o and Christian Harris both had great games. I think Kool-Aid McKinstry did a good job on his first start, coming in and playing it in Josh Jobe's place, who was a little nicked up. I think Jalen Armour-Davis did a great job in the secondary. I believe when he went out and had to have someone come in when he was injured, and Jobe stepped up, I think Jobe did a good job not getting many reps in practice due to his injury this week. So I think there's a lot of people you could make it, but there were 3 people that I thought played above their heads in this game. First of all, freshman Dallas Turner. I think he has gotten better and better each game, subbing for Drew Sanders in these games where Drew Sanders has been hurt. And Dallas Turner is going to be a star, folks. Just mark my word. He's going to be a star at Alabama. He has the athletic ability. He just needs a little more season, a little more experience. But you can tell with each and every game he's playing with a lot more speed. And when having more confidence and having more knowledge about the schemes will give him the ability to play with more speed, the speed of the game. So Dallas Turner, I believe he won the SEC Freshman Player of the Week this week. He deserved it. He did a great job in this game. Secondly, my defensive player of the game is Phil Mathis. He, I believe, won the Senior Bowl Defensive Player of the Week this week by what he did in this game, but he affected the quarterback. He stopped the running game. He caused a fumble and recovered a fumble. And he was instrumental on keeping LSU bottled up in the red zone and not allowing them to score more points than they did. He was a big part of keeping the running game bottled up till late in the game and preventing them from scoring when they did get in the red zone. So Mathis, or Phil Mathis as he's called on the team, is my second defensive player of the game. And my third and final defensive player of the game, he pretty much can just pencil this guy in. He has had a great game, every game that he's played in, and he just keeps getting better. And if any defensive player ever should get any buzz in the Heisman race, then I think this young man, Will Anderson Jr., should get that buzz. He is definitely the best player on this Alabama football team, in my opinion. He's the best player in the SEC, and he's the best defensive player in America. He goes out each and every day and plays to the best of his ability. He makes his teammates better. And there were at times where I thought he was in the backfield faster than the running backs were able to get the ball. And a couple of times he was in the backfield faster than the quarterback could even make a decision to throw the ball. And he had great leverage on the outside. He did a great job of staying in his lane and keeping the plays to the inside. And I made this statement the other day, and I really believe it's true. He can almost be in the backfield anytime he wants to. He's that good. Sometimes when he doesn't get in the backfield, a lot of times he's playing his gap and maintaining his gap and not rushing. And when he wants to get in the backfield, it looks like he can ratchet it up just a little bit more to get in there. So my third player of the game, Will Anderson Jr., is just, I can't say enough good things about him. But so that goes my offensive players of the game were Jameson Williams and John Metchie on offense, and on defense, Dallas Turner, Mathis, or Phil Mathis, and Will Anderson Jr. Well, here in the third and final segment, again, I want to thank you for listening into this podcast. We'd like to bring you a unique perspective on Alabama football and Alabama sports coverage here on the DC Capstone Report, and I appreciate every one of you listening in. So here today, we get to the final segment to preview the upcoming game against the New Mexico State Aggies football team. Well, we've had trouble with an Aggie team earlier in the year. Our only loss to Texas A&M is we're going to have trouble in this game. Well, let me tell you some good things about the New Mexico State Aggies. They don't have a great record. They play in the independent football subdivision, and they played a lot of teams. But the one thing, if you look at their stats, and one thing, look at their where they played, in most every game they played, they've scored a lot of points. Coach Saban has said this is a team that loves to throw the ball around. So they throw the ball around a lot. They're going to put a lot of stress on our defense and the passing coverage and passing plays. Their head coach, Doug Martin, has really got them playing in a good direction as far as an up-tempo, pass-happy offense. And so I look for them to come into Bryant-Denny Stadium, again, with nothing to lose. They don't have a great record. They come in with an opportunity to play and make a name for themselves. If they could knock off the University of Alabama at home, being an unranked opponent like they are, and not expected to even contribute to play in the game in any particular way, then that would make their season. It would be a shot heard around the world. Well, do I think they're going to do that? Absolutely not. I think Alabama is going to be up for this game, and I think there's several keys to the game. Number one, I think we got to play sound defense, and we've got to not bust any coverage in the passing game. This team of New Mexico State is typical of scoring at any time. They busted games open when they played against San Jose State. They scored 31 points on October 2nd. They played against Nevada. They scored 28 points. Against Hawaii, they scored 34 points. So they've had team games where they've scored a lot of points. They're capable of scoring points. So that means they've got some good athletic talent on offense. So we got to play sound defense, and we've got to maintain our coverages so that we don't bust any coverages in the secondary, allow them big plays. So we got to limit their big plays, play sound defense, and we got to affect the passer. I think Will Anderson Jr. and Dallas Turner both have big games in this game, affecting their passer, trying to keep them from getting the ball out deep. If they can make him throw short passes and try to get the ball out fast, or if they make him throw into coverage, I believe we can create some turnovers with our pass defense in this game. So on defense, we got to play sound football, sound coverage, and affect the passer. And I believe we'll be able opportunity to make some big plays. Well, on our offense, what we need to do, we got to get back to the basics. We got to take this as a separate game, a new game to play. We got to forget about the last offensive production. We got to come out here and have a big game in this game offensively. And I think it's going to start with the line. I think the line's got to have a great week of practice this week. They got to decide if Delacorte's out, let Chris Owens get all the reps, let Damian George get all the reps at tackle. and be able in this game to play a game solidly on the offensive line, that we can establish our running game. I think Brian Robinson and Roydell Williams need to have big games in this game. We need to put them away early with some big plays in the passing game, and we do that by setting up the play action passing. So we got to run the ball effectively, set up the play action passing, take some big shots downfield, and I really believe the number one matchup on offense where we can win is our speed. We have speed with Jameson Williams. I don't think there's anybody on the New Mexico State's team that can keep up with him in the secondary. So if we can get him running free, open in secondary, hit some big plays. I think Bryce Young has a big game passing, and maybe this is a game where we can shut this down early in the third quarter and be up big in this game and play a lot of people, get some of our starters rest and play a lot of people. That's the way I look for this game to be going. Come out crisp, come out on offense, hitting on all cylinders, don't have any 3 and outs, don't make any stupid penalties, and don't have any turnovers. And then we win this game handily. I think our defense is good enough and improving each week to be able to stop New Mexico State and maintain control if we can just do the same on offense. So I think we do that. I think we come out, play a great game. I think Bryce Young has a great game. Our running game comes back. Our offensive line ends up gelling in this game and doing a really good job. And I think we come out of this with a big victory. Everybody's feeling good as we go into the next game against Arkansas. I think Alabama wins this game on Saturday at 11 o'clock against the New Mexico State Aggies, and they win it big. Alabama 53, New Mexico State 14. 53-14. Well, that's all this week for the DC Capstone Report. Thank you all for listening in. We appreciate it. You have a great week, and roll Tide.